Hello all, it is Tuesday, July 28th. Thank you for taking some time and watching this video. I hope this video finds you well. As I was driving into church today, I was thinking, this is the perfect weather. 72 degrees, no humidity, low humidity, and sunny skies. Like maybe this is what heaven's going to be like. Couple announcements. Just first, this service coming up. Can you believe it'll be August 2nd, this next Sunday? We're going to be focusing on the story of Zacchaeus out of Luke chapter 19, verses 1 through 10. A really important story that reminds us of the part that we all play in encouraging people toward Christ. The title of the message is Obstacles and On-Ramps. And one of the key questions we're going to be asking is, how are we obstacles to people coming to faith, and how are we like on-ramps? A nice, straightforward way toward Christ through who we are and how we live and what we say and how we do life. So I hope that you're able to join us. Remember, we have a 9 a.m. online service, and we also have a 10 a.m. outside service, weather permitting. If the weather looks iffy, we will let you know by 8 a.m. if we are going to cancel, but hope you can join us for this Sunday. Also, coming up, we have a consistory meeting on August 11th. Our hope is that we can actually do that outside and gather together, because we've been on Zoom the last few months. So that's August 11th. A couple of the key things that are coming up with what consistory is going to be talking about. There's two key things. One is we are in the process of stepping into stepping into the accountable leadership model. And we're doing that somewhat as a trial, on trial, because we need you to approve that at some point if we decide that that's the right way to go with how we do leadership around here. But we are going to try it on for a little while. And it really moves consistory into governance and ministry and out of management. It's really driven by staff being kind of the primary managers of what's taking place in the life of the church. But even more important than that, what I really like about the accountable leadership model is it focuses our attention upon our mission. That really our goals and our work needs to be driven by our mission. So consistory is going to be talking about that. We've been putting together a document that really expresses, at least for now, this time in the life of Community Reformed Church, what does it look like for us to live into our mission. So stay tuned. If you're interested in finding out more, don't ever hesitate to talk to me or somebody on consistory. Or if you're interested, you could read Winning on Purpose, which is a really helpful resource in regards to talking about what the accountable leadership model looks like. And I do have copies if you're interested in borrowing one. In addition, consistory is going to be talking about the Vision 2020 final report. And so, as you know, the denomination has been in a conversation regarding kind of how do we move forward in the midst of some of the disagreement that exists around human sexuality. And so the Vision 2020 team came together a few years ago to really give some direction, recommendations to the denomination about how to move forward through that. Well, their final report is now available. If you just Google Vision 2020 Final Report, RCA, you'll have a chance to see that. And consistory has received that and is in the process of reading that. Our denomination doesn't act on these things very quickly, so this process will take some time, and those recommendations that you read have not been approved. And so more than likely, what does actually come down in this next year may look different than what those recommendations say, but I think it's helpful to recognize that this is going to be on the table for the General Synod next year in June. They did not meet this year because of COVID, which is kind of an interesting part of the challenge the denomination's been working through. But just encourage you, if you're interested, again, Vision 2020, Final Report, RCA, and you can read about what's coming down the pipe for the conversation around the denomination. Classis will be intimately involved in that, and so will we, but that will take some time for all of that to unfold. Also, I've been thinking a lot recently about some of the routines and practices that are a part of my life. COVID really kind of kicked me out of my routines. And it's been an adjustment for me to kind of recalibrate around some of those routines and practices that are helpful. Like exercise, like getting up in the morning and instead of looking at a screen, opening God's Word or spending a few moments in prayer with God. Those routines and practices that really help us to focus our attention onto Him and remember that we need Him throughout this day. And I was reading in Hebrews chapter 3 today, just the priority of those practices that help us to keep our attention upon God. Otherwise, as it says in Hebrews, that none of us may be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. And just reminded me of kind of what I've seen in the last few months in my own life, how sin is deceitful. And it sells us on the idea that we deserve and we've earned and we get to do these things that are really self-centered, that really are not about honoring God or honoring anybody else, but really about my own selfishness. So I just really want to encourage us to be thinking about what are the routines and practices that help us not to be deceived by sin, to not have hardened hearts that choose ourselves over God and the way of life He's called us into. So I encourage you to be open to the way that God's encouraging you to turn your attention upon Him. And what does that look like currently in your life? And have you experienced some of what I have, having kind of some of those routines and practices challenged through COVID? I'm recognizing how important it is that those are priority. So that what I say and what I do, what we say and what we do, is really driven by our desire to honor and worship the God that we love. Well, I hope you have a good week. I hope it's a week that you see and experience God's presence and you're reminded in some tangible ways of how deeply you're loved. And that each of us really embraces the thankfulness that we should have for who God is, what He's done, and what that means for each one of us. So look forward to seeing your face possibly on Sunday if you come for the outside service. Otherwise, may God bless you as you walk through all that God's bringing into your life today.